what dog should I choose to my house?
If you have children in the house, then I would say by all means, please go ahead and love your dog. But that means the problem is not with the dog. That's the problem with the pet owner. Is that I can go to work for 9 hours straight in the day, don't get a dog home. Why is your dog resource guarding? Now, what is resource guarding?
Welcome to VR Media. Today we have our special guest, Saba Poonawala. Let's welcome her.
Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
So my name is Saba Poonawala. I am a canine behaviorist. I deal in obedience, behavior correction, modification and cases of mild, medium and extreme aggression in dogs. I run the Pune-Chennai Dog Training Academy and I'm based out of Chennai as of now, but we also have a center in Pune.
My first question will be, you mentioned as a dog behaviorist. So what is the difference between dog behaviorist and the dog trainer?
So primarily what I can broadcast this to you as would be a dog trainer, maybe somebody who's just coming across and teaching your dog commands like sit, down, up, etc. But where you have a root cause of a problem, like why is your dog resource guarding? Now what is resource guarding? The dog considers an object so important to it that if you cross the dog when the dog has that object, the dog would want to growl, bark, or even bite you in many cases. So what is the root cause of this problem? If your dog is having something like separation anxiety, which happened to a lot of the dogs during the lockdown, suddenly the owners are going out to work. A trainer cannot address these problems. So in essential, if I have to speak about myself, I'm more like your dog therapist, or more of a therapist for the human. And you would incorporate along with me to bring out the best in your dog and to curb the problems that your dog has. Of course, I also do obedience training, wherein you bring a puppy or an adult dog and how do you get that dog to fit in your house environment.
By mentioning the house environment, I know my house environment and I know the members of my family. So in that case, what dog should I choose to my house?
So this again, you need to see what your family's criteria is like. For example, if your family is an extremely active family, if you all are used to going for treks, if you all are used to going for hikes, if you all are used to traveling a lot and you all don't mind taking your dog along with you for most of that travel, then in that case I would suggest a terrier. Why? Because a terrier needs this kind of an activity. If you guys are more of, like a leisure vacation or somebody who doesn't travel so much, perhaps I would recommend maybe a Labrador. If you all are outdoorsy in the sense that maybe you all go to a lot of gardens where you have a lot of smell oriented stuff that goes on out there which can interest your dog, then I would perhaps suggest a Cocker Spaniel or a Beagle. So purely it's based on what your requirement is. If you have children in the house, then I would say a Lab or a Golden Retriever or even a Cocker Spaniel or a Beagle, that's fine, but more friendly would be perhaps a Labrador. Then if you have guarding as your main forte, then in that case of course it would be a German Shepherd, a Belgian, or it would be a Rottweiler. So different reasons for getting a different dog breed home.
Previously you were mentioning that you are being a dog therapist. So in that case, how important is the mental healthness and the physical healthness of a dog?
Of course, it's very important. Imagine you during the lockdown. What was your state? We were in a house, we were confined to 4 walls, literally 4 walls. And after a point, it just became exhausting to be in that space. It was emotionally draining. A lot of people started undergoing some kind of perhaps a depression and people couldn't deal with just being bottled up so much. Similarly, imagine a dog is always in lockdown. So if you're not going to give it that kind of mental and physical exercise, there's going to be no outburst of energy and no reason. The dog has to have a reason to use his brain. If he's not going to be using his brain, where does all of that dense emotion, dense energy, where does it get vent out? It's going to lead to problems. Maybe your dog will start chewing the furniture. Maybe he'll randomly start barking. Maybe it'll not want anybody to enter its house. So this is why a wholesome environment for a dog with physical and mental activity is very important.
So in that case, as a dog parent or dog owner, what should I do to avoid these things?
So primarily know what you're bringing home. If your attitude is, I will bring home a dog, and my understanding of bringing home a pet is that I can go to work for 9 hours straight in the day and give my dog half an hour or 10 minutes when I go and come back, don't get a dog home. it's a 15-year responsibility to the minimum, and 15 years of constant commitment, daily walks, vet visits, a lot of activity, and a lot of you exerting more energy than what you already do at your workspace. If you're prepared for this, then go ahead and then you bring a dog home.
Okay, ma'am. So, do you think pet owners spoil their dogs by showing too much of love? So, how can we prevent this?
I do think that a lot of pet owners do this. While I'm not saying that it is wrong to love your dog, by all means, please go out there and love your dog. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with an animal. Just as our house has a system where there is one leader in the house that takes charge of several things. For several departments, there will be one leader. For another department, there will be another leader. Similarly, when you're working with animals, an animal or a pack of dogs needs a good leader. If there is a lack of leadership, that's where your problems come up. So I'm not telling you not to love your dogs. By all means, please go ahead and love your dog. But realize the boundary. Realize that if I cross this boundary with my dog, there is a limited amount of communication that I can do because I verbally cannot talk to my dog. Over a period of time, I can make my dog understand expectations and adapt to the environment in which I am. But if I'm going to lack, it's going to lead to a problem. That means the problem is not with the dog. That's the problem with the pet owner or the dog owner or the pet parent, and you will find problems that will come up.
What should I do when my dog is extremely hyper? So, some people have very hyper dogs. So if they see something, they get very excited and start running around the places. So in that case, what should I understand what the dog is communicating to me?
Okay, so hyperactivity is solely dependent on two factors. One is your dog's genetics. The second thing is, and very, very important, perhaps equally or more important, is the kind of lifestyle you're giving your dog. So if you're going to be at work the entire day and you're going to come back and your dog is in the house, not doing anything for the day, you're going to get a hyperactive product. Imagine you are at home the entire day. How did you feel when the lockdown was, pulled off? The sense of freedom, the sense of relief. Oh my God, my owner, my parent, this person has come home. This person means the world to me. Let's just do things together. This is what goes on. The zoomies will come about, all of that. Of course, it can be genetic as well. I'm not denying it. But what is your solution? Your solution is something which we spoke of a little earlier: mental activity, physical activity. Just physical activity is not enough. Engage your dog in activities of smelling, of using his nose, using his own brain, operant training, getting your dog to do. Play hide and seek with your dog in the house. The dog has to use his brain to find you. Get a cardboard box, put a lot of newspaper in the box and balls and spread food around. Tell your dog, go smell search. He has to learn how to use his nose. Play a treasure hunt with your dog. Take your dog out for a hike. Take your dog out for a walk. This will be physical activity with your dog. Versus just, I have a hyper dog. Let me invest in a treadmill because I can, and then put that dog on the treadmill. So it's not solving, because that dog is going to start hating the treadmill. And the second thing is that there's no brain activity that's happening. So again, your result comes back to the same thing. So like I said, two things are important: mental as well as physical activity in this case.
Okay. So what are your views on training and socializing the dogs?
I feel training is very important. Why is it important? Because imagine a little baby or a child who doesn't have very good manners. It's a lack. I mean, you don't know how to be in society. Similarly, a home-bred dog, taking that dog out to even a restaurant, that dog is going to keep barking, will keep trying to charge at people. It's not happy in its own world. It's underconfident in several ways, not because the dog has a problem. It's because the human didn't teach the dog. So training is very, very important, only to make your dog confident within the house, to give your dog's life some structure. And the dog is not just going to be an aimless creature. Give it structure. I'm not saying your dog has to become a circus animal. I'm not advocating that at all. But how do you get confidence in your dog? When your dog realizes basics. Okay, what is a no command? This is for my benefit. What if there's a chocolate? I have to tell my dog no. Now in that case, training comes in use. If you go out and say you've taken your dog along with you, something happens and the dog is off leash. If your dog doesn't know what a recall is, you're going to keep calling the dog's name, but your dog is going to get lost. How many cases like this do we have? So in this case, where you have a recall command that's there, wherein you tell your dog, return, come, these commands take you a very long way. So of course training becomes important on this front.
Okay, ma'am. So we were discussing about the dog's mental health and physical health as well. So if my dog is allergic, so I need to go to vet. In some cases, I need to get to the vet very often. So that very often is what period of time?
I would say that holistically you should have a very good relation with your vet, because your vet will guide you on a lot of medical related fronts. I think people in general take that a little casually. There are many people that don't, but many people that find it okay, my dog is vomiting for 2 days, I'll take my dog to the vet on the third or the fourth day. I don't appreciate that concept. I think that one should in general have a routine. Like how you go for dental scaling, or teeth polishing, or in general, how do you go to a salon. Similarly, the kind of effort that you would perhaps take for your dog to take your dog to a dog spa, or a place where you bathe your dog, or even if you're doing it in the house, you're doing something, right? Same case, have a routine with your vet. Where is this going to come into place? You cannot do anal gland cleaning at the house by yourself. You need a professional for this. The anal gland does get full over a period of time. The vet will come to your aid even here. Your dog's overall health, general checkup, especially in senior dogs. I would personally, on a personal front, I would say after your dog is 6 years old, annually there should be a routine blood test that should be done, because God forbid there is a problem that's going to come up, at least you catch it early. There are dogs with cancers now. I mean, where have we heard this? 15 years back, a dog with cancer was either very rare or just not heard of. But these things are happening. So how do you get to know these things? You get to know these things when you and your vet have an understanding that, okay, there is a timing for everything. There is a place that this has to happen. It's okay if I'm doing a blood test, even if it's not required. And you take your dog for these periodic checkups. Deworming is very important for the dog. Then a lot of people skip a couple of vaccinations. For example, your kennel cough vaccine. A lot of people don't do that with their dog. I wonder why. But I know that if I like to board my dog at different boarding centers, this is very important, because that is something that's transmissible. Or just in general, for the overall health of your dog, it's good. So this is why I feel that make a plan. Every 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is based on your tablet, your deworming schedule that is there, go ahead, take your dog for that. Every 6 months, routine checkup. I just want to get your dog's anal gland clean. If you're not good at cleaning your dog's ears, they'll perhaps even help you with that. Your doctor will also help you identify potential problems. Maybe you've taken your dog and you've not seen your dog is struggling to sit or struggling to get up. It's just not struck you. Not that you're a bad pet owner or a pet parent. It's just that you are unaware. So in this case, your vet comes to your aid even here. This is why it's important to have periodic checkups with your vets as well. Give your dog that respect, give your dog that space. This is how you will be a good leader.
If at all I'm going to adopt a puppy, so what are the things I should be focusing on it, sir? What are the things I need to check?
If it's possible for you to actually see one of the pictures of maybe the mother or the father of the dog. So what is it that you do with the vet? How often do you have to deworm your dog? How often do you have to bathe your dog?